everyone, Amer here again with another Mission Impossible episode review. This time I'm doing Season 3, Episode 23, as we're winding down this season, and it is called The Vault. So Jim gets his instructions at a parking lot booth. I'm quite certain that this is recycled footage with some new inserts, especially since the voice on tape says good morning when it's clearly almost sunset, according to the scenery. The mission: Finance Minister Pereda of Costa Mateo has stolen $40 million from the private vault of President Devaro and put it in a Swiss bank in order to frame Devaro for embezzlement, and the IMF must stop his plan. Again, we get an old-school dossier scene, which seems so out of place now. Jim goes through the whole thing, picking out the dossiers. The regular team is chosen, in addition to an entity called KDF Auditors. We are told that Devaro considers Pereda a close friend, so he would not believe that there is a plot against him, and that he has perfect pitch. Devaro has perfect pitch, which is what allows him to open his vault uniquely that others can't. Pereda has managed to open it by using a tape recording, and Barney mentions he will need a lot of time to deal with the safe. Off we go to Costa Mateo, where Devaro is touting his industrialization plan to Pereda and praising him for arranging a trip to Chicago to meet with the vendors personally. Willie drives up to the Treasury building in a service van as Jim and Cinnamon come to Devaro's office as foreign trade delegates, using Eastern European accents, obviously communist agents. They offer assistance with the proposed industrialization plan for virtually no money. They just give a veiled offer to allow their country room for military bases within Costa Mateo. And they say they have offered the neighboring country of Santo Tomas the same offer. Devaro politely but flatly refuses, but Pereda is pensive about it. Pereda returns to his office at the Treasury building, where Willie is buffing the floor, and talks to his man Ortega about the auditors coming in. We learn that these two are in cahoots to frame Devaro, who will not be able to explain to the auditors why the $40 million that is supposed to be in his vault isn't there, and the trip to Chicago is even more incriminating evidence against him, because his absence during the audit will be suspicious. Rollin enters the Treasury with the auditors, as the lead, as Willie asks the guards to keep people out of the hallway until it dries. When the coast is clear, Willie opens up his janitorial cart and Barney pops out, heading into the security office to get towards the vault by blowing the emergency door hatch off. The security guard returns, and despite Willie's tactics to try and delay him, Barney barely has enough time to squeeze into the hatch and with minimal noise manages to open the hatch door on the other side into the outer vault. Jim and Cinnamon get the predicted call from Pereda asking to meet. He tells him he's interested in their offer, and he hints that he has reason to believe that Devaro won't be president for much longer, which drops the charade on both sides. Cinnamon takes charge of the conversation and demands to know details about what Pereda is planning, which he tells her. They agree on a price of $100 million for their mutual cooperation. Rollin is set in an office across from the vault, watching guards go by as Barney continues to work on the outer vault's various mechanisms, disabling the alarm and making a bit of a mess with some money, then tripping the alarm. Blasting through the tumbler, he exits the safes and exchanges a brief glance with Rollin, and hides as a guard comes by. Rollin knocks a guard out from behind, and Barney punches Rollin as pre-planned, making it look like the guard and Rollin were overpowered during the robbery. Barney then heads back into the emergency hatch. Neither Rollin nor the guard are able to provide any information to the frustrated Pereda and Ortega about what happened or who did it. Pereda tells Ortega to get the tape recorder and tells Jim and Cinnamon that the theft negates their deal, as he won't be able to pull off his plan. The missing funds will now be ascribed to the robbery, not to Devaro's embezzlement. Rollin calls Ortega using Devaro's voice, calling about rumors regarding the robbery, and Pereda says it's okay, the private vault doesn't appear to have been touched. Rollin, as Devaro, says he's coming over to have a look, leaving Pereda devastated. Cinnamon, however, suggests that he put money back in the private vault to cover the theft, and then once Devaro is satisfied, he can just take it out again. Pereda says he can't do it with Rollin watching, and Cinnamon says she'll take care of that, as only she can. which of course she does. Once in the vault, Pareda uses his recording to open the private vault, with Barney recording the sound as well. Ortega helps Pareda find the necessary money, and at one point opens the hatch door, but fortunately Barney is able to hide in the shadows behind a false wall. Rollin calls the real Devarro as the auditor, telling him about he has found irregularities already during the audit, and he would like to discuss the matter in person. As Jim overpowers Ortega's man assigned to follow them, and Rollin dresses himself up as Devarro. Rollin as Devarro arrives at the Treasury building and goes into the vault alone, signaling Barney to come out and hand him the recorder. He checks the safe, puts a device near the lock before he heads back to the IMF car, with he and Pareda satisfied of the inspection. Pareda and Ortega start putting the cash back in the outer vault, and when they're on opposite sides of it, Barney sets off the device, which slams the private vault door shut. Pareda yells vainly from the inside as Ortega equally vainly tries to open it. Realizing the situation has little hope, Ortega starts to fill a briefcase with cash. The real Devarro arrives at the Treasury, with Rollin telling him to get security, as the situation is very strange. Devarro finds Ortega in the outer vault, who says he's surprised to see him again, leaving Devarro confused as what again means. Ortega starts rambling on suspiciously about the robbers and how the private vault wasn't touched, Your Excellency, and he can't give us straight answers. Where's Pareda is, and hamana. Anyway, Devarro opens the vault to find Pareda inside, putting both he and Ortega under arrest, as Barney dons a security officer's uniform and exits with Rollin. Mission accomplished. I'm going to give this episode a grade of a B-. It's on the borderline of B- and C+, but I tend to put it towards a B-. Maybe part of that is just because I'm a little bit glad after so much of what seems like, kind of experimentation within the series, almost like we saw in season 1. It's nice to have something that's more of a classic episode in a sense, right? An almost literal pennies from heaven plot where, there's nothing unusual, there's nothing out there. This is just the usual sort of thing. And it's a little bit refreshing to me in a way. It is also a really fun episode. That's what I really like about it. It's enjoyable, it's engaging, and I'll point out some of the other good things about it. Nehemiah Persoff, of course, you know what you're going to get with this guy, right? He was in the season 1 episode Odds on Evil, and this is the character that he plays. This is what he was born to play, right? A greedy, lame schmuck in a sense, but he does it really well, and he's so animated and lively, and I really, really like that about him. I think it's great. At least his performance is great, even if his character may leave a fair bit to be desired. As I mentioned, it's a really fun episode. The last scene where you have Pareda on inside the safe and Ortega outside, and you see Pareda going, Ortega, and Ortega trying to open the safe. It's really, really, really a hoot. I love that scene. It's just great. Also good is Barney's work in the safe. There have been a lot of episodes this season where most of the physical work, the mechanics of the mission, so to speak, have been done by Barney. The focus of the episode has kind of been on that, and with good reason. This was pretty groundbreaking in season 3. In later seasons we kind of see it again and again, but here it's quite new and it's quite fun. This one is really, really good in my opinion. Blasting through the hatch doors and working on the vault, and there's some intricate work there, which is really, really nice. I really like that part of this episode. There's decent teamwork. It's the usual kind of teamwork, I guess I would say, that we've seen in a lot of missions. There's the Barney Willie side, and then there's the Jim, Rollin, and Cinnamon side. We see that quite a bit. So it's not the best example of the power of 5. The teamwork is okay in this one. It's not outstanding, I wouldn't say, like it has been in some other episodes. Was not good about this episode. Again, quality of the villain is quite lacking. Pareda, Nehemiah Persoff, like I said, in his portrayal of Pareda, I think is excellent. The character, though, does leave quite a bit to be desired. He's very, very easily manipulated. He's very easy to predict, and is unfortunately just kind of a lame schmuck. And he is quite overmatched by the IMF. He's eminently predictable too. So it almost seems like clockwork the way that the IMF is able to kind of, they know his plan. It's so easy for them to kind of counter it, if you want to put it that way. And it is a literal pennies from heaven plot. I don't know that I would call that necessarily bad, but in the sense that the antagonist, or the mark, if you will, doesn't really do his proper due diligence in terms of, hey, is what I'm doing really a good idea, in terms of just following along with what the IMF is suggesting. It can be argued that they bring him to the point where he has no choice, and yes, that's arguable, and it's probably true. But anyway, I think B- is definitely a good settling point for the grade on this episode. I certainly do enjoy it more. If you want to argue, you could argue, especially in light of some recent episodes that we've had, where the plots have been more intricate, or where the plots have been kind of more unique. Like, for example, we've had Nicole, which was a whole different kind of episode, and we've had Live Bait, which was a very, very intricate plot, and and those got lower grades. And I would say very, very plainly, yeah, the reason they get lower grades is because I would frankly rather watch this episode than watch those ones. I'm more entertained by this. And that's a really, really big part of where I put my grade. The whole point of the show is it should entertain you at some level, right? I mean, that's really what it's all about. Anyway, that's my review for this one. Much shorter, actually, than some of the other episodes that I mentioned, because there is less to discuss. There's kind of less to dissect and pick apart. But again, that is one of the things about a simple episode like this, where you can just watch it and just be entertained and have a laugh or two once in a while. And there's nothing wrong with that. Thank you for watching, as always. Please like this episode. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And please leave your comments. I always love to hear what everyone thinks. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.